through some of our own questions with the leadership at CATS and MPC. But this is more for you guys to ask questions and get a sense of what's going to become of our boards and all in the coming months. So I guess this will serve as the call to order. Mr. Herms, do you have anything?
No, I don't have anything to add to that. So again, I guess welcome everyone, and including all of my members of TSAC Lab to make the time to join. And I guess we'll kick things off. So thank you. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Okay. All right. So with the call to order having been completed, we will move to the first agenda item, which give me just 1 second to pull up that screen.
Mr. Parker, I did put the agenda in the chat. It's at the very top of the meeting chat.
Okay. Apologies, I'm working off my phone, so I'm having a tough time navigating all the different screens I have going on here. What is the first agenda item, just so I'm not holding everyone?
Introductions with roll call, and then followed by public comment if there is any.
Okay. All righty. Do we want to do a roll call, or just? I think we have everyone's name who's here recorded. Correct?
Yes, except there's a person, there's a couple people whose names don't show up. There's a phone number ending in 0481. I'm not sure who that is.
Who's joining us by phone?
This is Chad. Apologies, I've had to join by phone today.
Okay.
Do you think it might be? Do you think it might be easier if we just if we go down the attendance list of both CTAG and then for TSAC and just say like Mr. Mr. Parker, are you here? It's just we can have a just because I recognize some people have made different names on Zoom or shown up as phone numbers, just to make sure everything's accurate for the record.
Sure. Would you like me to go ahead and say the names?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, sure. Okay, so for TSAC, Jarrett
Herms, chair of TSAC here.
Okay. Betrenberg.
I'm here as well.
Timothy Spalding.
I'm here.
Bob Moran.
Present.
Juan Contreras. Okay. Ed Jerrigan. Scott
I'm here.
Jerrigan.
I'm here.
Kevin.
Here.
Okay. For CTAG and TSAC. Okay. Juanetta Covington.
I'm here. Good afternoon.
And Leroy Fields.
Here. Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you. And CTAG, we have Jeffrey Parker.
Here.
Okay, Lauren Patterson.
Here.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Robert. Jonathan. Martin. Michael. Michelle. Donald. Anna. Jesse. Todd.
Boy, as a CTAG representative, I feel embarrassed that we don't have anybody here from our group.
Yeah.
But I am here.
Did you get Martin Wheeler? He is definitely here. I'm looking at his picture right now.
I'm here. I was unmuted.
Oh,
I'm okay now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then finally, Justin Music. Okay, so that's and Juan Contreras has joined us. Juan.
Yeah, he's on.
Okay, and Robert Hillman. Okay, I see him. And then Justin Music just accepted the meeting, so I'm assuming he'll join us. And I'll just keep my eye out for other people. So thank you. Go ahead. I think the next agenda item was public comment, followed by the discussion of the new advisory board.
Do we have any guests for public comment? I don't believe we do, but we could ask to see.
And we didn't have anyone register in advance either.
Okay. Mr. Parker, it does not appear that we have anyone signed up or present for public comment.
Okay. Well, with that being said, I guess we can move into the next agenda item, which is discussion of the new TSAC.
Yes, sir. I will start off with just a recap of the of sort of how this has played out over the last year or so. The MTC worked to renegotiate the interlocal agreement. The amended or revised interlocal agreement was formally adopted by MTC in August. And the revised interlocal agreement moves from two separate citizen advisory groups into one advisory group, the PTAC. And so as we've had those conversations, we wanted to have an opportunity for you all to weigh in on how this transition will work, and also to get your feedback ahead of the November 20th meeting so that Mr. Parker and Mr. Herms can bring forward any questions, comments, suggestions for that meeting. You all should have received several documents. One is the amended and approved interlocal agreement. Two is the rules of procedures. The rules of procedures needed to be amended in conjunction with the interlocal agreement, because as the interlocal agreement changed, therefore so did the rules of procedure need to change. And so while that was a separate action, it went together with the amended interlocal agreement. And then lastly, we have a draft application for the new PTAC that we have provided. I would say that it's draft and that we haven't made it official. We think that it's final draft at this point, but we do want to get feedback. And then talk a little bit about what we would see as the process. Quite frankly, simply, I think the process would be is planned to be CATS will make the new application available to the public. We'll also, and to you as current members of the TSAC and CTAG, in December. We would also send out information using our social media, the CATS Pass app, those kinds of things to solicit any new possible interest or applicants. We would gather that information, or we would open the application period in December, gather up the list of applicants and provide that to the MTC in advance of their January meeting, with the understanding that MTC would start to seat or appoint new members to the PTAC at their January meeting. With that, I'll also say that separately, Mr. Herms and Mr. Parker have had several discussions, both with myself and with Commissioner Altman, Mayor Knox, Jeff or Jarrett, do you want to talk a little bit about some of those conversations?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was going to say, so yeah, so both myself, Mr. Parker, as well as interim CEO Cagle, Commissioner Altman, and Mayor Knox, we've been having conversations about the formation of the new PTAC council. So we've been talking about things such as how it will be organized. So will the membership, which was a big thing, which Mr. Cagle can be able to speak to. We've been also talking about essentially what seats would essentially be the official seats that would sit onto the new PTAC, acknowledging that both TSAC and CTAG have both similar and also different seats appointed by different bodies. So ensuring that the diversity of voices we have within both groups will be represented in the new PTAG, just because I know that certain appointments bring about a particularly unique perspective. So these are things that we have been in conversations about, as well as having conversations about timing and making sure that we kind of get things off the ground, because as we do start the new PTAC entity, we are going to effectively going right into budget season, to making sure that everyone is kind of well acquainted with the budget process, particularly within TSAC, which hasn't been as involved with the process, and as well as from the other pillars. The three pillars that will essentially be within PTAC will be, which is as a combination of our two existing entities, will be ridership experience and planning, mid and longer term transit planning. So as we think about as we start to kind of adjust things such as routing and schedules and other things, and then finally that third pillar will be the budget element. So to a degree, both of our respective entities have had a little bit of all three, but I know TSAC has been more so on the first two, definitely on the middle pillar, and definitely on the first pillar, but not as much on the third pillar, versus with CTAG has been definitely within the second pillar and definitely within the third pillar, but maybe not as much within that first pillar compared to TSAC. So there will be kind of sessions to be able to kind of talk about those kind of different pillars that we will have within the new PTAC entity. And then of course from those conversations, we wanted to host a joint meeting between both our respective groups, so we can be able to talk about such transition and planning. And then Mr. Parker, if there's other things you wanted to bring up in the next minute or so.
No, I think that's a solid summary of what we've talked about. I don't want to use this as a chance to put forth my ideas, and I don't know, Mr. Herms, how you feel about it either. But I more want to use this as a chance to get what members of the board think, what their perspectives are on the new board. Is the membership number correct? Does it need to be more or less? I want to use this as an open forum to answer questions that you all have. Like everything Mr. Herm said is pretty much the summary of what we've been working with Mr. Cagle and Commissioner Altman and the others. So I don't really think there's much additional information to fill in there at the moment. But I do want to get a sense of where everybody's head's at, especially now since this has kind of been in the water for 3 or 4 months. That I think this the interlocal agreement the new interlocal agreement made its way to both of our September meetings. So everyone's had 2 months or so to sort of digest what's going on, and now's a good time to ask questions, and that's what I want this to be. So I will, with that, I will hand it back over to Mr. Cagle and see if he wants to open up that discussion or if someone just wants to go ahead and fire off a question.
No, I think that would be good. Open it for questions.
Toss Dice here. You were talking about filling in the applications and going to the MTC. Will the individual towns still be the ones that ultimately select membership in the cases of like Davidson, Cornelius, and Huntersville, so on? Or is it going to be an MTC decision?
Yeah, so the membership, so if it were the Davidson representative, for example, Davidson or Mayor Knox, however Davidson handles that. I don't know if Davidson, the town commission, takes action on that for the recommendation or if they have delegated that to Mayor Knox. But clearly for the regional representatives, which are the towns, the towns plus Charlotte and the county, those applicants would be appointed by the region that they look to represent. To the earlier point about there is a little bit of a mismatch with the regional representation versus the rider type of representation, in that TSAC currently has specific seats for specific types of riders, which mode they use or those kinds of things. Whereas CTAG is predominantly regional, where you're from or where you live. And so the application would look to mix that. As Mr. Herm said, it is, and we agree, it is very, very important for us to both have diversity from the region, voices from across the region, from across the MTC region, but also have diversity in the types of riders and users of the system to get their viewpoint about how we can better manage the system and meet needs. And so the intention with the application would be to handle both of those at once so that we don't lose one or the other element of both regional and rider representation.
Thank you. Just follow up on that. Do we have a representative from the ADA on either of the current committees?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we have an individual that I believe is fine.
There is a disabled rider representative on TSAC, but I'm not sure if that is filled right now. Oh yes, Timothy Spalding.
It's me.
Yep.
Sorry.
And so as we go through the application process, we would not want to lose either of those types of diversity, whether it's from, the region that you're from or the ridership diversity. And so we would be looking to gather that data as we provide it, both the full application and then a summary of applicants to the MTC as they look to make their recommendations.
Oh, and also I just want to add really quick to your question and point, Mr. Spalding. One of the things I very explicitly mentioned is the great degree of insight both your position and as well as even you yourself brings into this, just as Sherry, who was your predecessor, has brought a lot of insight into there as well. So again, as part of these conversations, we are having pretty explicit conversations about about individuals as well as particular seats that do bring those unique perspectives that are extremely important to have onto there, Mr. Spalding.
Yes.
All right. What other questions do people have at the moment?
Nichelle Dunlap Thompson here. I'm sorry for the late entry. I was on that Teams link and I'm in commute. So I was briefly scanning the document, and this may have been stated. What does that membership number look like once this merge has taken place?
The interlocal agreement specifies 13 members for the PTAC. It is basically the same membership as CTAG in that each town has a representative. The county commission has 2 representatives. The city of Charlotte has 2 representatives. And then CMS has 1 representative, and that gets you to the 13 member board. I don't know, Mr. Parker, Mr. Herms, I think I'm okay to say this, but I know that that was part of the discussion that we all had with Commissioner Altman and Mayor Knox. There is the ability to change membership numbers if MTC desires. They can take that action if they would like.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just for clarity on that, I am going to be pushing for an expansion of at least 2 members with the MTC. I don't know that they'll accept it, but I think there needs to be more, especially if we're trying to maintain both geographical and type of rider diversity. I think trying to collapse that down into 13 members is just going to be too much of an ask. So I will be pushing for an expansion to at least 15 members.
Thank you.
What other questions do people have?
Hi, this is veteran TSAC, Town of Matthews. I just want to know when we get to the part where we start scheduling the joint sessions. Or I take it back, not joint sessions, but the PTAC sessions. When is that? What's the target for having our first official meeting? And when do we decide the schedule for having those meetings?
So we would look to have first meeting, assuming that MTC is comfortable moving forward and appointing members in January. We would be looking to have first official PTAC meeting in February. And then as far as day of the day, days and times, I think that's open. We would want to work with the PTAC to find the best time to suit their needs. I will also say, once the PTAC is seated, just a recommendation or a thought. One of the things that we have talked about with Mayor Knox, Mayor Lyles, and Commissioner Altman would be tasking the new PTAC to create as one of its first work efforts a set of bylaws specific to the PTAC that outline and define roles and responsibilities. You could also outline and define things like obligations, attendance types of things, or other things in those bylaws. It's not something that the TSAC or CTAG ever officially had created, but we do think it would be beneficial. It would be a beneficial exercise to create a set of bylaws. In our view, and again, this is just my thinking on it. PTAC could work to create a draft set of bylaws that could then go to MTC for review and possible approval.
Just for my own clarification, Mr. Cagle, would those be required to go to MTC, or would that be sort of a self-governing thing where we as the responsible party would also be governing setting our own rules essentially, or
That's a
that
good
might
question.
be a legal question, to be honest with you. I really don't know.
Yeah, I think Mr. Thomas is on this call. I don't want to put him on the spot, but if he already has a thought on it, I'll let him weigh in on that. But I agree, it's a legal question.
Yeah, I think that MTC has already approved its own rules of procedure. And so those were updated at our, I want to say our September meeting. And so those existing rules of procedure do have it does spell out PTAG. However, I think that PTAG could vote to approve its own rules of procedure and would not require MTC to take action.
Okay.
Now, I think that unless there was something that was in conflict with the interlocal agreement or with the existing rules of procedure that were adopted by MTC, and maybe we would have an issue that would have to go to MTC for approval, but I think it could be done with PTAC.
Okay. And maybe the solution, if that's the case, Mr. Thomas, is just to draft a set of our own rules and then come to you and let you put your mind to it, see if there's anything that might perhaps conflict, and then at that point we could iron out those issues. But if there's no conflict, then we could just codify it into our own rules of procedure, as it were.
Certainly, that's something that y'all could consider. I think also it would probably be productive to review the existing MTC rules of procedure, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And you could take a lot of that language there and modify it to fit your
Right. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Other questions?
Mr. Parker, I do note that there are, hold on, I'm trying to scroll. There's one question in chat. If the referendum passes next year and CATS becomes an authority, does that change the structure of this new advisory board? Well, the advisory board is a product of the interlocal agreement. And at such time that an authority would be created, the interlocal agreement is basically, I guess, null and void, for lack of a better term. I see Brad nodding, so I think I'm probably in the right neighborhood on this on this answer. And so what I think is, even though all of that's true, the PTAC is created out of the interlocal. It is, I think I would say that our recommendation will be to continue having a citizens advisory group for transit, regardless of the ultimate governing structure. And I think what we would look to do then is ask the new transit authority board to either continue on with the PTAC, or if they had different thoughts, to provide us direction on what they would like to do for a citizens advisory board or group. I suspect that it would be a continuance of what is already established in the interlocal agreement, but I can't say that for sure. But I would not envision, certainly CATS would not recommend that a new transit authority not have a citizens advisory board. There is value in that. It is the norm, and we would strongly recommend to the transit authority, if it is created, that they would continue on with the citizens advisory group or board.
Thank you, Mr. Cagle. I don't see any other questions in the chat at the moment. So what else do you guys have?
Hi, this is Tim Spalding, and I think the question I sort of have is regarding remote participation. There was some language in there, and I don't remember specifically of the interlocal agreement slash PTAC, but were there in the discussion anything called out, spelled out, requirements, restrictions, or so?
Brad, do you want to weigh in on that?
Sure. Yeah, so what the rules of procedure provide is that the committees of the MTC may participate and vote remotely. However, we have said that the MTC, when it takes action, it needs to do so in person. And we basically said that because of the risk of, under state law, having an action invalidated would be a risk to potentially a capital project that relied on that MTC action. And so we have required through the interlocal agreement that the MTC, when it takes action to establish a quorum or to vote, that the members have to be in person. But in terms of the MTC committees such as PTAC, we can permit remote participation and voting, and that's based because we don't see a major risk, to the actions that are needed. If something was invalidated for that reason, they can go back and do it again, but it's unlikely to present a risk. So that's the position we've taken.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spalding.
Just to the chairs, after this agenda item are CTAG chair report, followed by TSAC chair report, other business, and adjournment. I'm not trying to cut the conversation short, but I just wanted to remind you of what the agenda sequence was.
Sure, thank you.
I understand, thank you.
This is Veteran Bird again, TSAC Matthews. I had the 3 links for our documents, but when I opened the one for the draft, I'm sorry, I don't remember. It says Seamless Docs FPTAC. It doesn't, I don't know if I'm opening it incorrectly, but I don't have anything in it other than the CAT's header information. Am I doing something wrong there, or?
Bertrand, the link should work. I know somebody submitted it, but I can send out the link again to this group to make sure you have a good link. And please feel free to test out the user experience of the application. Feel free to submit it. It only comes to me. Definitely want your feedback on, user friendliness of it and so forth. But I'll put a new link in the chat so that you can access that. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you much.
I have a question. I know in terms of the interlocal agreement, these are advisory committees, and to make it anything more, it would have to go through that MTC voting. But is there anything legally that precludes an advisory committee like this from having any kind of voting power in addition to the advisory power?
That was discussed with members of the MTC, and they were not willing, or that was not a discussion that they wanted to pursue. I think what you're asking is, in the original, there was a request that the advisory groups be given a vote at the MTC.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And I understand that that's not part of any agreement or any future proposal, but does anybody know if there's a legal reason why that couldn't happen? Like, are we legally precluded from doing that by being an advisory committee, or it's allowable if it was approved by the MTC? Is that the correct understanding?
I think part of it is just, at least my understanding is that no other advisory board in the city, at least, and possibly in the county, no other advisory board has a vote in matters that concern them. So we would not be given the unique opportunity to have a vote in matters that concern us, was kind of my understanding of it.
To also add to the question of precedent, during the discussions within MTC members as far as the building of PTAC, one of the things they were looking at is essentially the transit advisory groups or similar thereof of kind of other cities within cities within both similar and larger populations than ours. And from my understanding from Commissioner Altman, those also are not situations where they may have the unique ability to be able to have those voting powers. So it's more so of there hasn't been a precedent of it. So that might be kind of too fast, kind of jumping the gun as far as creating it kind of right out creating it right off the bat, knowing that there isn't a precedent. Will it kind of create some kind of legality issue without kind of more looking further into it?
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
This is Veteran again. What's the term for appointed members?
Brent, help me on this one. I think it's 2 years.
It's going to be 3 years, Brent.
Sorry.
And similar to what CTAG is now, but beginning with some staggered terms is what the rules of procedure say, just so that not everyone comes off the board at the same time and we maintain experience and consistency.
And does that account for the time spent on the sunsetting?
No, ma'am.
PTAC. Okay.
PTAC would be a totally new term, beginning fresh start.
Okay, thank you.
Nichelle Dunlap Thompson, I think we may have discussed this before, but just refresh my memory. With this new advisory board, that's going to be an appointment by the MTC chair, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what I read.
The chair has one appointment. Well, the county commissioner, who is the MTC rep, has one appointment, as well as the mayor of Charlotte has one appointment. All the other mayors have one appointment, and then city council has two appointments. The county commission has two appointments, and CMS has one appointment.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so the current members now serving, there is nothing required on their part at this time.
No, I would say the current members, as we prepare to launch the application process, we'll make you aware of it. And certainly we'd encourage you, if you're interested, to apply for PTAC, so that we can, as quickly as possible, move those applicants forward to the MTC.
Thank you.
Any other questions we have? It's gone kind of silent. Okay, I am hearing no more questions. So with that, I guess we can move on to the next agenda items, which are our reports.
I'm sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I apparently I thought I unmuted. I started with the question. I'm working as testing part of this application per email. Can this serve as my application going forward, or do I have to repeat this when it becomes, if you will, official, provided no changes to it?
Already filled it out or are filling it out, we'll accept that.
Okay. Well,
you won't have to do it again.
Okay. Thank you. That's all my question.
Yep.
Would it be possible to resend? This is Kevin Huntersville. Would it be possible to resend that email?
We'll send all of the information out again to all members.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can we also get minutes sent as well for this particular meeting as part of that email?
Sure, it will take a little bit of time to put the minutes together,
Okay.
but I can send. I would definitely send out the email out today. But yes, I can send out the minutes and a link to the video as soon as we can get that together.
So we'll send out the 3 documents. We'll resend to all members today, and then as soon as the minutes and video is prepared, we'll send that separately, but we'll do that pretty quickly.
All right. Last call for any comments or questions before we begin our wrap up. All right, hearing none, I'll go ahead. I don't really have much of a report to give to you guys just yet. Like I said, we're still working out some of these issues. Had a couple of meetings with Mr. Cagle, Commissioner Altman, and we'll probably continue to have those discussions for the coming weeks. If any member of CTAG, and I assume this applies to TSAC as well, if you come up with other questions and you know you'd need to have an answer to them, you didn't ask them at this meeting, please email either myself or Mr. Herms, and we will take that feedback into consideration as we move forward. I will be at the next MTC meeting, and like I said, my big push is going to be for an expansion to 15 members, just so everyone knows what I will be doing. But I do want to hear other people's feedback if you know they have something that they think would be of value to add to the board. It may not be an appropriate discussion for MTC. It may be something that we take into consideration when we're writing our bylaws, but still want to hear feedback. This is coming at us fast, so I think January 1st is when they want to have the new board seated. So we need to get that feedback as soon as possible so we can route it to the appropriate channels as soon as possible. And that's all I have, Mr. Herms.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Parker. So the MTC did not meet. So the MTC did not meet in October. So there's nothing to necessarily report from that meeting because it did not happen. So the next MTC meeting will be Wednesday, November 20th. So this upcoming Wednesday, and the forming of PTAC will be talked about during then. So we will have everything reported out to you as soon as possible. But as Mr. Parker also mentioned, both of us have been in conversations between us and as well as with with Mr. Cagle and Commissioner Altman and as well as their legal team talking about everything. So as you may have seen in the chat, I just dropped in my email address in there. So obviously those who are on TSAC, you already have my email. But but please email us if you have like essentially the things you may want to have within the new PTAC. Again, if it's within the purview of MTC, this is something we will bring up in the in the upcoming MTC meeting. If it's not deemed material for the MTC meeting, this upcoming MTC meeting, but more so within the bylaws, we will address it once we have everyone formally seated into the new PTAC, and we'll have everything reported out to you. And then and as always, as I usually tell my members of TSAC, I do encourage you to tune into the MTC meeting, whether it be in person in room 267 in the government center or in the live stream that is going to I definitely would encourage you to do that. But in the meantime, just email us whatever. In the meantime, so that should be it as far as my my end of the chair report.
I think our final item is adjournment.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion. Second. Nichelle Dunlap Thompson, second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed.
Aye.
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 Aye.